talked to you about many things. One of them is your inspiration is evident when it comes to your short stories, and it's Israel, of course. But I also heard that you talked in an interview about how things that are normal in Israel are not so normal in other parts of the world. How does this work? How do you make this connection with people from all over the world, like in this case Mexico, when we are apparently so far away from Israel?
Well, first of all, I think that the kind of connection that I have with Mexican readers, I don't have anywhere in the world, including Israel. About 4 years ago, I was in Guadalajara, and Diego Luna did a show based on my stories, and Diego told me that reading the story, he sees a lot of similarities between Mexican people and Israeli people, and basically that's the fact that in both countries people live very hard life in a very violent society, but they stubbornly insist to be happy, many times by suppressing the realities that they live in. So I have a story called Suddenly Knock on the Door, and Diego said it's a story basically on people who tell a writer, tell us a story that will make us feel good about ourselves and we'll be your friends forever, but if you don't, we'll kill you. So he said only a Israeli or a Mexican could say something like this.
And we wouldn't take it so hard because we're really used to people dying around us. Yeah. There's no way around it. But how is it inside your head? Because I know how it is for people like us who live in very violent societies, in very violent countries. I know how hard it can be in my head, but I'm not a writer, so I don't have like a way out. How does it work inside of your head?
Well, I think that that any reality abnormal, as one could imagine it, is one that you get used to. So let's say if you go into a cafe, you automatically know where it would be safest to be if there would be a suicide bombing. You don't sit next to a window, you do all those kind of things without even taking them into account. And I think that that for an outsider it may look strange how people get accustomed to it. But not so long ago I was in London, and this journalist said to me, "How can you live in a place where every week there is a terrorist attack?" And I said to her, "How can you live in this weather? I would have killed myself after 2 weeks." So for a British person, they're blind to the weather, and I think for somebody who lives in the Middle East all his life, as sad as it may seem, you take this reality as something that is part of your landscape. But the sad thing is that while you can change the weather, you can't change the political reality in which you live. And I think that Israelis got so used to living in this kind of constant violence that many of them gave up on even believing that things can go differently.
Yeah, it's normal.
Yes.
You cannot
I think
change
also
it.
in Mexico, it's like people would say, about the narcos and about the reality here. Then I think that the average Mexican doesn't say, "What can I do to stop it? Is there a way to get it out of our life?" It's the same way it rains in winter. You take this part of reality and say, "This is my life," and it's a shame because I do believe that that we unlike the weather, we can change the social structure of our society, and we can take an effort, to make our country a better place for our children, and our grandchildren. It's something that is important to us, but we don't always believe in our power to make this transformation.
Yeah, we don't believe in ourselves. But you mentioned about safety. When you feel in a safe place, in case something bad happens, is fiction a safe place? Are you safe there?
For me, fiction is the most safe place because every action you take in real life can have consequences. If I drink coffee, I can spill the burning coffee on my hand. If I give you a compliment, I may offend you, and your boyfriend will punch me. But in stories, you can destroy planet to jump out of windows, and that in the bottom line, when the story is over, reality will stay the same. And it makes it this kind of perfect emotional laboratory. You can take your emotions and froze them there without any fear of consequences. in my story collection suddenly knock on the door.
Mm-hmm.
When my wife had read it, she said that it bothers her that there are so many stories about married husbands who cheat on their wives. And I said to her, would you rather that I write about loyal husbands and cheat on you? Whenever this kind of feeling of infidelity is in me, I sit down and write a story, because then I know I will not harm anybody. And usually, by the way, by the time the story ends, I see that the characters in the story don't become any happier
Yeah, at all.
being not loyal. But I really feel that I'm son of Holocaust survivor, and I think that when you grow up knowing, that your mother saw her mother and brother killed in front of their eyes, and they've gone through horrors, you're very, very much aware that everything you say can hurt the people who are
Has a
close to you.
consequence, of course.
And I think as a child, there was something almost kind of uptight about me, saying I don't want to say anything that will hurt, And this it caused, I think, this kind of suppression that in many situations, it's not that I wouldn't say things, I wouldn't even feel them. I wouldn't know that something bothered me or that there was anger in me. And I think that writing allowed me to reach to this zone in which I could go wild. I could really release myself and know that nobody will be hurt.
Because I think that what you're writing about is already painful enough. So it would be just too much if you were not careful with that kind of decisions of not hurting anyone. Because you're writing about a reality that hurts. There's no way around it.
Yes, but I think that there are many things that that let's say if you go to a bereaved family's house, then you know that there is pain there, but many times you're hesitant to acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm.
While when you write, I think when I write, I have this kind of feeling that I can be outspoken and blunt about anything, because I have this kind of the safety of the sphere of fiction that I can tell the hardest truth, because I can always say it's just a story.
Exactly. But, well, in this case, your short stories are really short stories. And how can you manage to put so much feeling into it, being careful, really thinking about what you're creating, and then creating, in some cases, a fiction inside a fiction? Because most of them are, people are living not in the reality. They're living in some sort of fantasy world. So how do you accomplish this in 2 pages?
Well, I think that it's kind of like, I don't know, when you make a balsamic oil, or there are those kind of processes that if you let something stay for very long, it becomes condensed. Mm-hmm. And I feel that there's something about my stories that I'm not the kind of writer who wakes up in the morning and says, okay, I have to sit down and write. I will do anything I can to avoid writing. And the stories are just there, and they can keep on nagging, and you feel as if there's kind of pressure building, like, when you put a pot on the oven, and the same way that, that it starts kind of whistling, then I think that sometimes the story is this kind of eruption, and all these kind of things that you accumulated become very, very condensed and come out.
Like a volcano.
Yeah, very much so.
It explodes.
Very much so. It's funny that there is something about it that when I write, I always have to be alone, and I don't want people to see me, because in the act of writing, I know that I look crazy. There's something about it. I sweat a lot. In Israel, many times I wear only my underwear. Mm-hmm. I say out loud some of the sentence, or sometimes I write a sentence and I say out loud something that is actually outside of the text. But there is something, there is this kind of feeling of release, but also something that can be very, almost desperate about the act of writing.
So what are your boundaries? Because you have to, know, that's my frontier, I cannot cross that line.
Well, I think I have so many boundaries in life, so many rules that confine me. I'm a really tight-ass person, if I to admit it, and none in writing. I think the important thing to me when I write, I don't really think about I don't think about the audience. I don't think about anything. I just think about the story I'm telling myself, and if the story will put me in a negative light, or if the story will jeopardize somebody close to me because he'll be offended by the story, I never think about it when I write. I really feel that I let the story write itself, and I don't care because I feel that in this area, in this playground, I can totally do what I want.
It almost feels like your stories write themselves. Like you're just a medium to put them out there.
I think the best metaphor that I have for the writing process is very much like a trust fall. You know, sometimes the couples, when they go to counseling, and they want to teach them to trust each other, they ask each of them to close his eyes and fall back, that he has to realize that the other will catch him or her.
Yes.
And I think that for me, it's like I close my eyes and I fall back and I trust that the story will catch me. And many times it doesn't, you know, and I wake up on the floor with a bump on my head and 5 pages don't make any sense, but sometimes it does. And I always say to my students, you know, a good story by definition for me has to be smarter than the person who'd written it. A work of writing for me, it's not a work of execution. You know, I'm not like building a bridge or building a clock, learning all the details that, you know, and constructing things carefully. I'm reading a story, you know, and while I read the story, I realize in the back of my head that I have to write the next line so I know what happened. This is the incentive, is the curiosity behind it, not some kind of knowledge. It's like, you know, in cartoons when you have those characters that they go over the edge of a cliff, and they keep they use a pencil to keep drawing the floor so they won't fall.
Yeah.
So I really feel that my drive when I write a story is basically that I really want to know what happens, and I feel that I draw a lot of the energy from the fact that, you know, that if in my stories there is a guy in the room and he holds a pistol to the head of my protagonist, I truly don't know if he's going to shoot him or not.
Well, that's up to us as readers, probably. But you've created not only the short stories, but you've written also graphic novels, you've written screenplays, well, for TV. How did this happen?
Well, I think that, you know, first and foremost, I see myself as a storyteller. And as a writer, you know, unlike, I don't know, a doctor or a scientist, you cannot keep on learning, you know. And my way of learning how to tell a story is by experimenting with different mediums and basically learning something from each of them. So when I come back to write my stories, I'll be able to implement that. You know, if I do it by making films, I became much more aware of the mise-en-scene in my stories. You know, by creating graphic novels, I think it strengthens my ability to imagine the world in which my stories take place. You know, writing children's books and picture children's books was also something that helped me release other things in me. So I think that it's like I'm like somebody who kind of goes on an adventure overseas, and when he returns home, is a little bit wiser.
You're like a combination of a scientist and some sort of traveler, endless traveler.
Yeah, I think that there are many writers that for them writing is a craft, and I think that the ways that they can keep on creating and improving is by basically honing the craft. But for me, I think that the only thing that makes me write a better story is maybe living more life and experimenting with more things, and those things, like the more emotions will be accumulated in me, the more explosion will come out and the more stories will come out of it. So I very much I like to be challenged, you know. I think that there is something that can be very dangerous in success, that you are challenged, you can be challenged less and less because you are in a turf that you already control and you already respected. So for me to take that step and do something that I haven't done before is always something that you come back learning the lesson from.
It's more or less the trust metaphor, like a leap of faith and see if somebody will catch you there.
Yeah, it's funny, you know, there is something that in the sphere of creativity, I always feel safe, and outside of it, I always feel unsafe. It's like kind of, if I've been reading, and I will be in the audience, I feel agoraphobic. But if I'm on stage, I actually feel very relaxed. So there is something about it that when I engage in an act of communication, then I suddenly understand who I am and why I'm here, and there is some kind of a sense of purpose that kind of anchors me to the ground. But when I just have to leave, then everything seems to be very confusing and it doesn't make as much sense.
Well, I think at least for us, your stories make a lot of sense, and we want to thank you for taking this short time to talk to us. And well, in the name of Mexican readers, thank you for always visiting us.
Muchas gracias.
You're welcome.